It is exactly a year since the House of Saud acquired 80% ownership of the Newcastle United Football Club. While the ruling family claims the takeover is solely an investment for the country, critics argue that it is a ploy employed by the Saudis to distract members of the public from its established records of human rights violations and civil rights abuse, a.k.a. sportswashing. What prompted the Saudis' interest in Newcastle F.C? How did football fans around the world react to the buyout? Find out these and more in this video. Hello everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel Footballogy. Our channel takes a look at different sports and gets into detail about the political aspect of it. In this video, we will cover the topic about Newcastle United's new owners. Before we start, please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's start. Sportswashing or business move? The dark side of the Saudi Newcastle takeover explained. The House of Saud is the ruling royal family of Saudi Arabia known to possess power, influence, and wealth with a net worth of over $1 trillion. The family is recognized for its massive investments across different sectors such as energy, travel, tourism and entertainment, banking, and technology sectors. In 2020, the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund, Public Investment Fund, PIF, put money and bought stakes into some of the world's best-known companies, like Facebook, Disney, Marriott, and Starbucks at the same time the world faced an out-of-the-ordinary health catastrophe caused by the coronavirus. On the 30th of July 2020, there were valid news reports of Saudi Arabia pulling out of its offer for the acquisition of English football club Newcastle United. The offer, which was first made known to the public in 2018, was fronted by a Saudi Arabian consortium. The consortium was headed by the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, and made up of the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund, PIF, PCP Capital Partners, and Reuben Brothers. The association made a public deal of £305 million to acquire Newcastle United from English entrepreneur Mike Ashley. This public offer stirred up the interest of the English Premier League and further led them to conduct an investigation on the prospective owners involved in the deal, so as to assess the worthiness of the group. This assessment took over 7 weeks, causing the consortium to back out of the deal, blaming their withdrawal on stark silence from the English Premier League. During the wait, there had been objections against the takeover raised by critics. A few of the key issues mentioned include the unapproved broadcasting of Premier League's games in the country, the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and a disturbing number of human rights violations. While one may wonder what triggered the Saudis' interest in acquiring the English football club, knowing its prior interest in sports had been limited to boxing matches, horse racing, and wrestling. The royal family, however, insists that their move for purchasing the 129-year-old football club is purely born out of a need to diversify its economy and shift away from its consumption of carbon fuels. Critics, nevertheless, maintain that purchasing Newcastle United is only a tactic employed by the country to distract the public from its human rights violations, a practice popularly known as sportswashing. Sportswashing can be defined as a term used to criticize the practice of individuals, groups, corporations, or governments using sports to improve reputations tarnished by wrongdoing. Sportswashing is accomplished by organizing sporting events, acquiring or sponsoring sport teams, or taking part in a sport. At the highest level, it is used to hide poor human rights records and turn attention away from corruption scandals. This practice is ages long, and it dates back to 1934 when it was first used by Italy dictator Benito Mussolini. It is undeniably no coincidence that Saudi Arabia first showed interest in purchasing Newcastle United in October 2018, a little while after the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi. That same year, Saudi Arabia was in turmoil. The USA had stopped being dependent on Saudi Arabia for oil, depriving it of its biggest market and cutting down petroleum prices. Government funds were beginning to suffer, and the House of Saud had to introduce a sales tax. In 2018, also, the United Nations released a report accusing the Saudi-led coalition of a series of war crimes and civil rights abuses, including mass rape, bombing of civilian areas, forcing young children to fight as soldiers, and torture. All of the aforementioned happened in the same year the royal family thought of purchasing the football club. Certainly, it can be argued that the purchase was not born out of a genuine affinity towards Newcastle United, as the Saudi had first made gestures in 2018 to buy another English football club, Manchester United. This proves that the Saudis are very much guilty of sportswashing. The English Premier League games are broadcast in over 200 countries and regions, and Saudi Arabia sees this acquisition as a means of pushing the country to the rest of the world, with hopes that it fades the murder and dismemberment of Khashoggi, the war and seizure of Yemen, and its established records of human and civil rights abuse. Despite frowns upon the buyout by several critics and international bodies like Amnesty International, the $400 million takeover was completed on the 7th of October 2021 after all the necessary approvals had been obtained from the English Premier League. Though the Newcastle United F.C. went from being the cheapest in the league to being one of the richest in the world, most fans of the football club were completely disappointed, and the others elated. While some fans immediately decamped to other football clubs, others showed up to the St. James's Park wearing Mohammed bin Salman masks and improvised headwear with towels and makeshift keffiyehs. Newcastle United's Premier League rivals reacted with fury to the takeover's successful conclusion. On 12 October 2021, an emergency meeting was convened by the other 19 Premier League clubs between themselves and the Premier League, where they voiced their anger at the league's decision to ratify the takeover. Newcastle United were the only Premier League club to be excluded from attending the meeting. On 18 November 2021, Premier League clubs voted to tighten the Premier League's financial controls in order to limit Newcastle United's spending power. On 16 November 2021, Gary Hoffman resigned from his role as Premier League chairman with effect from the end of January 2022, after Newcastle's rivals held him responsible for the takeover's completion. On 23 October 2021, at Newcastle United's first away game since the takeover at Selhurst Park, home of Crystal Palace, a banner was displayed by Palace supporters targeting the takeover. It featured illustrations of a man dressed in traditional Arabian clothing carrying a sword with dripping blood, next to Premier League Chief Executive Richard Masters. It also featured a checklist with alleged offenses carried out by the Saudi Arabia regime. Police assessed the banner and decided that no criminal offense had occurred. On 17 November 2021, an online fans forum survey conducted by Chronicle Live and its sister websites found that 84.4% of neutral football fans thought the completed takeover was good for the game. In May 2022, Amnesty International criticized the new away kit of Newcastle United F.C., stating that it amounted to sportswashing by the club's Saudi Arabian owners. The kit's colors, which were white with a green trim, strongly resembled the colors of Saudi's national football team. Although the Premier League guaranteed that Saudi Arabia would not control Newcastle, the leaked images of the club's new kit suggested otherwise. Amnesty UK's head of campaigns, Felix Jakins, said it was a clear evidence of the regime using Newcastle to portray a positive image. Football fans, most especially fans of Newcastle United, were expectedly elated, knowing that the status of the football club had changed for the better, but we cannot deny the outright disrespect of human rights by the Saudi Arabia kingdom. Saudi Arabia has clearly chosen business and repairing its reputation over human rights. The death of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi has been unaddressed for the past 3 years after the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, has been accused of most likely ordering the assassination and dismemberment of the journalist at the Turkish embassy in Saudi Arabia. Instead, the country has invested heavily in golf and football sports in an attempt to bolster its nearly ruined reputation. In the course of the buyout, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia assured the Premier League with legal bindings that it won't be involved in the affairs and running of the club. It was quite shocking to see the Newcastle United new third kit adopted the same colors of the Saudi Arabian flag upon unveiling. The new kit shares an uncanny resemblance with the Saudi Arabia national team's jersey. The new kit features a predominantly white shirt with a green hemline, and the Saudi Arabia flag is also white and green. On the effects that the takeover has on football fans worldwide, the Newcastle United Football will have a taint on its reputation as a result of the reputation of its new owners, and also ethical consequences drawn from this deal.